How are you doing, boys? You're walking home after a night out at the bar with your friends, and shortly after you part ways, you notice that you're being pursued by a shadowy figure. You make a few turns to throw the stranger off, but it appears to be too little, too late. As you walk faster, you begin to hear the vibrations of your heartbeat in your ears, and then suddenly, the flick of a switchblade. But as you turn around, you're blinded by the sudden burst of light from a welding torch. Stumbling backward onto the pavement, you watch as this masked man shoves your attacker to the ground. You watch in horror as this man who just saved you from being knifed places the puppy to your attacker's head and welds it to his face. And it stays there. This act permanently disfigures your attacker and most assuredly gives him a lifelong fear of puppies. As your attacker screams and writhes on the ground in pain, the masked man gets to his feet and turns his head towards you. He gives you a nod and then sprints into the darkness of a nearby alley. You've just been saved by the very real DC superhero, Dogwelder. You guys, I've been talking about Dogwelder for like 10 years to almost anybody who will listen. And he's literally my favorite, like, little known comic book hero that nobody else seems to know about. Currently in the DC canon, there exist, well, many Dogwelders, but we'll get to that later. But the main Dogwelders that the DC comics have followed have been Dogwelder 1 and Dogwelder 2. But who is Dogwelder? Dogwelder is a member of Section 8, led by the hero Six-Pack. And guys, I'm not gonna lie, besides Dogwelder, I find the rest of Section 8 either boring or disgusting, and I'm really not gonna be talking about them much, especially Six-Pack. Fuck Six-Pack. He's just so gross, and I hate looking at him. And I get that's the point, but God, he grosses me out. I think I'm just afraid to look at him because he looks exactly how I'm probably going to look in about 30 years, and I'm just not ready for it. Dogwelder didn't really show up again until his death in 2000 in Hitman number 52. So Dogwelder 1, that's what we're going to be calling this version of Dogwelder, doesn't really have a whole lot going for him. However, over 10 years after his original death, Dogwelder's story was able to continue in the comic book series All-Star Section 8. In this story, an unnamed man is wandering around a pawn shop and stumbles across the original Dogwelder's gear. He feels mystically drawn to it, and once he gets close enough, the mask just snaps onto his face. And as soon as this mask snaps onto his face, he is right back to his old shit. He sprints out of the store, sees a woman walking her dog, and immediately proceeds to weld her dog to her own face. She didn't even do anything wrong. He's not even pulling any punches here. It is a trait among both Dogwelders that as soon as they put the mask on, they become completely mute. They're not able to speak. Evidently, this Dogwelder also completely disappeared from his family because the next time we see him, his wife and children have tracked him down, and they are so happy to see him. In their excitement to finally see their father again, Dogwelder's children present him with their new puppy. He welded his children's faces to their puppy and then just disappeared. That's it. That's all that he did. Dogwelder isn't seen again until issue number 1 of Six-Pack and Dogwelder, Hard Travelin' Heroes. In issue number 1, we see Dogwelder watching his family from outside of their house. It appears that his wife has remarried and his children are permanently disfigured from the accident. They were able to get the dog off of their face, but it left them scarred. And then this dumb motherfucker who Dogwelder's wife remarried, he implies that he has been told and filled in on this situation. He suggests getting these children a puppy. What the fuck are you thinking, you stupid asshole? Why would you do that? Why would you think that that was a good idea? The bar is on the floor, that's all I'm saying. Dogwelder eventually runs into John Constantine, who fills him in on the fact that he comes from a long line of Dogwelders, and that his lineage apparently goes back to the pyramids. Constantine also lets Dogwelder know that he is able to use the dogs he carries in his satchel as puppets and utilize them to speak. I'm not going to tell you how that he uses them as puppets because this video will get blocked immediately, but you can probably use your imagination based on the images. After discovering that he can use these dogs to communicate, Dogwelder rushes to his family and tries to make amends with them. But unfortunately, he just ends up scaring the shit out of his kids, and so he, Constantine, and the rest of Section 8 travel to Egypt. While there, they find an ancient tomb that will supposedly give Dogwelder the answers that he seeks about his powers and what they mean. After lighting a special torch, Dogwelder is transported to the afterlife of all Dogwelders. It's kind of like when the Avatar goes into the Avatar state, but like not quite the same level of cool. It's way cooler. When Dogwelder is transported to this spiritual realm, he is met with the spirit of Dogwelder 1. And since Dogwelder 1 and 2 are going to be having a conversation in this section of the video that I'm talking about, I'm going to refer to Dogwelder 1 simply as 1 and Dogwelder 2 as 2. It's just going to be easier, okay? 1 then tells 2 the story of the original Dogwelder. And I'm telling you guys, it is absolutely insane. In the days of old, the Egyptian gods Osiris, Ra, and Isis decided that there were too many mortals walking the earthly plane, and that they needed to create some sort of underworld. But of course you can't have an underworld without somebody to rule over it or determine who gets to go in, and so the gods decided to create their guardian. And for this task, they recruited the bastard son of Osiris. This son was a feeble-minded smelter whose name has been lost to history. The gods appeared before him and guided him to the tomb of a demigod. And there he found a chained-up wolf. And he knew, with those two things in front of him, the corpse of a demigod and a live wolf, there was only one thing left to do. This Dogwelder Prime created the overseer of the Egyptian underworld, the god with the wolf head and body of a man, Anubis. But once Anubis was brought to life, he was so angry at the abomination of his own existence that he put a curse on Dogwelder. And this curse has been passed on to all throughout history who have been unlucky enough to don the mask. After hearing the story, 2 asks 1 why the gods would allow such a tragedy to befall throughout the centuries, to which 1 replies, why would they care? And he's right. The gods have no concerns over the qualms of mortals. 2 is beside himself and asks 1 final question. To what end does this power serve? And it's a question that 1 just isn't able to answer. Leaving the pyramid depressed and without answers, Dogwelder and the rest of Section 8 return home. But once they arrive, they see a strange broadcast on the news. Our solar system's next closest star, Sirius and Sirius B, are on a collision course, and the resulting shockwave will create a chain reaction that could potentially destroy the entire universe. Despite the fact that they have at least 4 members that could probably get rid of this single-handedly, the Justice League has instead provided a device to slow the collision, and NASA is launching a team of astronauts with a special warp drive on their ship to get to the star as soon as possible. However, hopes do not appear to be high for this mission. It's here that Dogwelder has a profound realization that Sirius, the dog star, is his destiny. The plan is simple enough. Section 8 breaks into this extremely secure NASA facility, takes the place of the astronauts, and steals their place on the Sirius mission. Once they arrive at the colliding stars, Dogwelder goes for a spacewalk. As he begins this hopeless task of welding the 2 dog stars together into one, a massive beam of light shoots from the Dogwelder tomb in Egypt, increasing Dogwelder's power exponentially. He's being enhanced with the powers of Dogwelders from over 50 centuries. And amazingly, the mission is successful, but it's not without cost. Dogwelder was killed as the 2 stars merged together. He needed to be close enough to ensure that the mission went off without a hitch and that a cataclysmic power surge didn't happen. Heartbroken but proud to have saved the universe, the team returns to Earth. At the end of the comic, Dogwelder can be seen in a constellation as Sixpack falls into a drunken stupor. And that, my friends, is the story of Dogwelder, the man who saved the universe and never got any credit. If you like this video, please like, comment, or subscribe to my channel. We recently got accepted into the partner program, and those extra subscribers will help me get some ad revenue. As always, guys, my name is Isaiah, and thank you for watching my video.